Okay. All right. So let's. You want to get started, Kirk? Okay. So the purpose of what we're trying to do here is we're wanting to turn this into. We'll probably bring on a third person at some point, right, Kirk? Um, we're wanting to create like yeah, basically like a weekly or a bi-weekly discussion where we talk about everything from new games that have come out to issues in the gaming field to like today we're going to talk a little bit about gamer mental health because that's something I'm really passionate about. But the idea is that this is going to be a time for us to kind of answer questions for any of the followers or talk about stuff that they want us to talk about, so on and so forth. So that's what this time is for. And then after this, we'll move on to Left 4 Dead 2. So yeah, pop some zombies. But right now, what we're going to focus on, guys, is gamer mental health. So if you're in my chat or if you're in Kirk's chat, which by the way, let me pull you up here, Kirk, so I can see your face. If you have anything you want for us now I'm Casper again. Great. If there's anything that you want us to talk about in regards to gamer mental health, there we go. Put it in her chat. Put it in my chat. I can actually see your face now, Kirk. Hi. You're delayed as hail, but that's fine. It's still something. Okay, great. So let's fair warning. I'm at work right now, so I'll be in and out. Says hear me. That's fine. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, Kirk, is how sedentary um, gamers can be. Uh, I'm sitting in a chair right now in the dark, and most people I actually forgot to bring my drink with me. Otherwise, you'd be sitting here to my right. But most people will usually bring a snack of some sort or a drink of some sort, and they'll just sit here and for hours on ends. I've seen some streams go 12 hours. Just consume food and sit on their ass, and that's all they're doing for the majority of a day. The obvious issue with that is you're not getting any physical activity. I mean, CohhCarnage. I don't know if you guys know who CohhCarnage is, but he had a medical issue come up not too long ago because he's so sedentary all the time, and he streams what's it 6 days a week, 7 days a week, full time, and it's like his empire, but he's in his chair all damn day long. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. I think gamers especially need to get out, and so this is twofold. They need to get out and participate and exercise, not just because of the physical activity, but the second thing that gamers I feel like have as the primary issue is socialization. I don't feel like gamers, a lot of them tend to be like YouTubers, which are people who do a really good job of connecting with others on a camera, but they don't do a really good job of connecting with others in real life. So going to a gym with friends or with a trainer of some sort gives you the solution to both of those issues. And we really need to press for gamers to be involved in that outside of simply sitting on stream and talking the entire time. So that's where I'm at right now. What do you think, Kirk? Without showing his face or while showing his face? Right, and I feel like gamers jump onto gaming in large part because it's a lot easier than other options are for socializing. So humans by nature are going to find the easiest way to do anything. That's just what we do. We take shortcuts. So if we can socialize with people without having to socialize with people, and I can sit behind a camera and stare at you like I am right now, that's a lot easier for me to do than it is for me to shake your hand or meet you in real life or show you what I really look like without a filter or without the right lighting or without edits. Um, it is significantly harder for gamers to do that. And with the increase, I mean, I looked at the stats the other day, like 2 weeks ago, not the other day, but 2 weeks ago. If you take Major League Baseball in America, the NBA in America and you take the NFL in America and combine their gross annual incomes, it doesn't match the gaming industry. You could take the three. You can even take hockey, throw hockey in there. You can throw in the MLS. You can literally throw in the five. I guess those would be the five major sports, maybe MMA, in there, and it still wouldn't match the annual income of gaming. So what does that mean? What does that tell you? It tells you that there's a shit ton of people who are participating in this, which means there are a shit ton of people who are participating in probably working out and probably, meeting people for coffee and things that they need to be doing outside of gaming. And gaming, I'm a huge advocate that the medium is not the problem. So take a casino, for example. I can go into a casino and I won't spend a dime because I'm a penny pincher, and that's just kind of how I work. Somebody else can go into a casino and spend their life savings, right? But the casino itself isn't the problem. It was the person. It was their heart, right? So it's kind of the idea that money doesn't create evil. It reveals evil. So if you have a bad heart, it reveals those bad heart issues. And I feel like gaming, sex, alcohol, these things reveal a bad heart that was already present before the medium got there. But to work on that, you have to go out and actually interact with people. So, let's see. Hear Me says, I can't hear her. Can you hear her now? Go ahead and talk, Kurt. I can hear you fine. It sounds like Hear Me, that's literally his name, is Hear Me, is having a hard time hearing you. I can hear you fine. You're coming in fine for me, but one of my viewers is saying he's having a hard time hearing. I don't really know why. Your room is so bright compared to mine, Kurt. Ratchet's in there? Oh, yeah. I hope. Can they hear me on yours? Can they hear me on yours, Kirk? Who? Yeah, Ratchet's in mine. Hear me says I don't hear her voice at all. I can hear you on hers though. That is weird. I just wanted to listen to myself talk the entire time. That's what this is about. Let's see. I'm not really sure why that is the case. I have my desktop audio fine. Hey, Raj, can you hear Kirk on mine? I don't really know what's going on. Let's see. Me? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm in Discord right now. Trying to hook you up. Voicing. What's up? Yeah, the bad heart. So like with money, if you aren't in a good place with yourself and how you find your worth and how you find value and the things that you appreciate and all that kind of stuff, your perspective, all that, then you're going to use money in an unhealthy way. Like if you're in a bad place, let's say you just got out of a relationship or something and you're in a bad place mentally, how are you going to use sex? You're going to use it in a way to facilitate a different need than maybe you would have if you were in a different place in your life. And so it's no different than gaming in a lot of ways, I feel like. You're going to use gaming. There's one individual, I'm not going to name him. Let's just say he's on a famous YouTube channel that makes reviews, that's famous for reviews. I'm not going to say whom just because I feel like that's inappropriate. So his problem is he will literally lock himself in his. He's part of a group, so it's not just him. But he'll literally lock himself in his room the entire day and will refuse to go out and participate with the other members of this really famous YouTube channel. They have like 3 million subscribers, because he doesn't want to be seen. So he used in their reviews, he used to show himself in these reviews, and he's a little bit on the bigger side, and so people would make fun of him in the comment section of the YouTube reviews. And so he's like, fuck this. I'm not going to keep showing myself if people are just going to beat me down. And so he refuses to kind of show himself in public and to be a part of those more interactive opportunities for that, because they're so big. They get invited to all sorts of cons all the time, and he just won't go. He won't go. He won't even go out to eat with them or go to the movies with them. It gets so bad sometimes. He has weeks where he will just like huddle up in his room and just play games all day, which is great for them because they get content, but it's right. 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 You have to have a balance of some sort. So okay. So then, how do you do that? How do you encourage somebody who has? So let's think about the reasons why somebody would be doing this. Okay, someone who would withdraw themselves, I guess, from the world, and focus on gaming and sit in the room. It's likely the problem behind the problem is the problem. That's what I like to say as a therapist. So the obvious problem is we can't get this guy or girl to leave the room. Okay, well, what's the problem behind the problem? For him, it's probably a self-esteem issue rooted in being vulnerable and allowing people to see himself. So he has this cycle um, of cognition where he thinks to himself, if I leave, then I get humiliated. Or if I show myself, then I get humiliated. If I get humiliated, then it reinforces this idea I have about myself that I'm worthless or ugly or right. And so then the behavior that follows the cognition is um, I'm not going to remove myself from my room. I'm not going to engage or interact with other people. So then how do you intervene? It's not, hey man, come join us. It's not, dude, just get off your ass, you'll feel better. It's not, just get some sun. The sun will make you, just get out for a little bit, you'll feel better. Like these are all duh answers. And if somebody, because he's likely dealing with a facet of depression, you don't just go up to somebody with depression and say, hey man, you know what would help you? Go into the gym. Well, no shit, going to the gym helps. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of research articles that say working out helps with serotonin and dopamine and depression and anxiety and all sorts of things. But you can't just go to somebody and say, hey, just get your ass out of bed. You'll be fine. So what do you do instead? Right. So then how do you do that? So that's what I want to talk about. So how do you go about convincing somebody who doesn't want to be convinced? It's like the girl who's in the abusive relationship chat. If you've ever seen somebody who's in an abusive relationship, you can't go to them and just be like, "Hey, do you think you should be in this relationship?" Because they're right. So I think what you're saying is you want to keep the door open. And chat, let me know if you can hear her again or not. If I fix that or not. Well, I think what you're saying, Kirk, is you want to leave the door open, but you don't want to just like invite yourself into the door, which is correct. But so then what do you address? right? The girl in the abusive relationship, going back to my example, you don't go to her and say, hey, sweetie, do you think that you should be in this relationship? This seems kind of volatile and kind of dangerous, you know. She's gonna say, well, no, I don't want to get beaten every weekend. Yeah, like, yeah, duh. So you don't say to her, okay, so you know, shouldn't you just leave? She's gonna say, yeah, she knows she should leave, but she won't, and because the reason is the problem behind the problem is the problem. So she has a self-worth issue probably. She may have a dependency issue. She may have she may be used to, so her homeostasis or her cycle of communication, she's gotten used to a certain level of emotional experience through the ebbs and flows of that relationship, and that's why she sticks around. It's not because she gets beaten and she loves it. So going back to the gamer, it's not that the gamer loves staying in the room. Like, you don't just say, hey man, don't you think it'll be better if you leave the room? Well, yeah, he thinks it'll be better. No shit. So you have to go to them and say, hey, like you were saying, let's look at this from a different, so like get to the root. Hey man, do you want to talk about what's going on with you right now? Don't even bring up the obvious that he's not leaving the room. Say, hey, what's going on with you right now? What are you feeling about the way that you look or the way that you present? Let's talk about that. Let's go there. So if you solve the root of the issue, then you can assist. Then you can say, hey man, okay, great. So you're at a place right now where you're feeling a little bit, yeah, so how can I help you? Then you can solve. But people don't want you to solve their problems all the time. They want you to get the obvious problem. They want you to get to the root of it because they've heard friend and mom and siblings say the same exact shit that you're going to say, which is, you know, hey, get out of the abusive relationship. Hey, you know, let's go out and work out. Hey, let's get out of the room. They've already heard that. They still can't hear you, Kirk. Damn, that sucks. I don't know why. I've never had a problem with Discord. Here, I'm going to try a YouTube video chat. Let me see if you can hear. Sorry, Kirk, I didn't mean to cut you off. I want them to be able to hear you when you talk. Make sure I got you what? Hold on, Kirk. Hold on, Kirk. I'm sorry. What were you saying to check? I want to make sure they can hear you. I want to make sure they can hear you. So what were you saying to check? Let's see. Annoys the shit out of people.
Not want to have support. Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
right.
if somebody's a little bit too intense to me, I find that I end up getting a little bit mad at them, and then it changes my whole feeling and stuff. And I was speaking to Oreo-san the other week about like why people kind of get depressed, and yeah, it is pressure. Like putting pressure on somebody about that is just going to cause a bigger issue, and it's going to make things a little bit worse. It's it's that balance of sweet and like sourness. You need to like kind of be there for them, but you also need to let them be independent and push themselves as well, because there's only so much you can do as a person. If somebody doesn't want to help themselves, then you can't force them
They're
to
not
help
going to.
to
Yeah, they're
do
not
it.
going to help
Like,
themselves. There's nothing
yeah,
you can do.
they're not going to do it. You can only sit there and just give them the view from the outside perspective and just kind of just support them. Just know that if they tell them that if they need you, then you're always there, even if it's just, even if they want to talk about stuff, if they don't want to talk about stuff, if they just want to hang out, they want to grab a coffee, they want to go get some food,
Right.
they want to go outdoors, go for a walk, like whatever, like kind of whatever they need, just kind of just let them know that you're there,
You
you're available.
facilitate their need. You don't try to create a need for them.
Yeah, but don't create a need for them. Just so they don't come too dependent on you.
Right.
As I said, you need to find that balance where they need to still be independent as well.
Right.
They still have to help themselves.
Right. I agree 1,000%, and they can hear you right now, so that's great. So I hope they agree with you as well.
Yay, they hear
I know.
me.
I set it up. How's that now? Hear me? Like this, it's funny because we're talking about the fact that they can't hear you, and one of my chatters right now, his name is literally "Hear Me." And he's like, now you sound
Hey,
too
hear me. Can
quiet,
you
and
hear
she's
me?
too loud. How was that? Hear me? How is the ratio between the two of us now?
Oh, we good.
A lot better. Great.
Great.
Great. Okay. Awesome. So what about you guys in chat? Do any of the chat members have anything that they want to mention? And Cheeky. I don't know who Cheeky is. Cheeky's new to my chat. Hi, Cheeky. How are you? I'm really interested to know about Cheeky's um, username. Cheeky Juandos?
Juandos.
Juandos? Is that one of yours, Kirk?
I want to say it's Cheeky Juandos.
Cheeky Juandos.
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 Yeah, it's kind of like
That's
sounds like
great.
J, isn't it?
I love that. Well, do Cheeky or Hear Me or anybody else, Ratch, do you guys have anything that you've experienced or any topics on mental health and particularly with gamers that you would like for us to
Ratch
discuss?
commented through mine saying that she got a rough patch herself recently. And
Yeah,
I agree that there is a thing of too much support. There's like, yeah, got people saying there's too much. There is a thing of too much support.
there absolutely is because it annoys the crap out of people. People want to feel
Hell yeah.
a sense of independence. They want to feel like they are able to do something on their own. So if you are constantly trying to solve their problems, they're going to get pissed off. You have to allow them to come to you.
It'll just be too intense.
That's right. So the balance there is okay. So if we have somebody who's struggling with something and we know they need help, but we can't press the issue, okay, so what do? We have to be emotionally available. So emotional readiness.
Yeah.
So emotional readiness is stating, it essentially is the idea that when something presents itself, regardless of the time of day, if I'm coming home from work, if it's early in the morning, I am ready to emotionally take on anything that comes my way. Right? So that's what you need to focus on because when they're ready, you need to be ready. It's what we call turning towards. And when someone turns towards you, you need to turn back. If every time someone turns towards you, when they're ready for you to engage with them and help them, and you turn away from them, not physically, but psychologically or mentally, you turn away from them emotionally, that only reinforces the idea that nobody actually wants to help me. They're just being, kind and trying to say the right thing and be supportive. So if you really want to help people, you have to work on you. And I talk about that all the time. It's the idea of being selfishly selfless. You have to work on you so that when your friends need something, you are emotionally ready and available for them. But yeah, that's absolutely true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because there's no way that you can take on somebody else's problems if you've got a lot yourself and you can't deal with your own sort of stuff. You can't get on your.
No. You can only give what you got. Period.
Yeah.
You can only give what you got. That's why I harp on, especially adolescents and young adults. I always harp on being selfishly selfless. It's okay to be selfishly selfless. Work really hard now on you, so that one day when you're an adult, full-fledged adult with all the shitty responsibilities and everything that come with it, you're ready to help other people because you have something to give and you can only give what you got.
Yeah.
Hear Me says, I have a generic question. I don't think gaming is bad, but addiction is never good. I think addiction and isolation can often come hand in hand, so how do you address that or help someone break the habit? Because you're breaking not just isolation, but the addiction as well. So let me reread that.
Addiction is very hard to sort of address, really. It's hard to beat an addiction. It can go from very small things to really crazy big things.
Yeah, addiction is tough.
Yeah.
When I'm working with somebody who has
anything with addiction myself, so I don't really know too much.
I sort of have, but not in your generic addiction. I was addicted to fitness for a little bit. I think I'm significantly healthier now in terms of just overall, health and wellness. But to answer your question here, May, let's see. We want to turn you up a little bit. To answer your question here, May, I would say I'm adjusting your volume, Kirk.
Okay.
How do you address that or help someone break the habit? Okay, so you have to find again the problem. So as a therapist, I'm always looking for directionality. So like take depression and anxiety for example. Those often tend to go hand in hand. There's a lot of comorbidity between the two. So figuring out which one is causing the other is of the utmost importance, because if you solve that one, you solve the other one. But if you solve the one that's being created by the other, then it doesn't solve the problem, right? You end up just basically putting a band-aid on something, and then it gets torn off again because the root, the directionality, whatever's causing it, continues to be there.
Yeah.
So for us, now this is a little bit harder in like day-to-day work. For us, we use psychological evaluations for that, which gives us a very clear picture about what is causing what. Now, if you're working with somebody like a friend and you're not, a licensed therapist or psychologist, and you don't have, availability of different psychometric measures, then you're just going to have to kind of talk to them about, hey, what do you think? You're going to have to trust that they know their experience well. And you're going to have to say, hey, where do you think this is coming from? And have them say, hey, I think my depression is causing my isolation. I think my addiction to gaming is causing my isolation.
Yeah.
Or do you think the need to isolate or remove yourself from people because you may be introverted is causing the addiction to gaming? What do you think is the directionality there? Because if you don't have access to psychometric measures, you're just going to have to hope that they know like their own life to the best of their ability. And then that's what you work on. Let's see if I got your volume right. He goes, she sounds like she's whispering. Stop whispering.
Maybe I am whispering.
Maybe what if she is whispering? That's a fair point. That is a fair point. No, but I really do worry about gamers. I mean, we have...
Oh yeah, that is a great tip. I will go back to you. Damentium. But Oya-san just said another good tip is to get a good amount of sleep. And then hygiene too, that if you're isolating yourself, you've got to make sure that you're trying to sleep at least and you're staying clean. Because, I mean, when I get angry or if I feel really sad, I just kind of just have a shower or a bath, or like I brush my teeth.
And that works for you?
Just get myself kind of like refreshed.
Right,
kind of just feel like a new person again.
Right.
And I get out of that mood I was just feeling and kind of just do stuff like that.
And that works for you. So okay.
Yeah.
This is something that drives me crazy. I'm diverging a little bit. But the idea that there's like one technique as a therapist.
Not one fix.
It's not. There's 7 billion people on the planet. You can't have one fix that fixes anything for anything. It just doesn't work that way. There's too many variables in life. If you're looking at it like a scientist, you're looking at variables and independent and dependent properties, there's just too many. There's too many. You can't account for all of them. It's just impossible. So there's not going to be one fix. Like for me, the gym has been great, but the gym I can't prescribe gym to everybody because a lot of people hate the gym. A lot of people get uncomfortable at the gym and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Is Captain Kirk a therapist too? Captain Kirk is not a therapist. But she can be your friendly therapist.
An official therapist.
She could, like a bartender.
Yeah, when you just go somewhere and you just need someone to chat to, and there's just that person at the bar who always listens. I actually used to work in a bar, so I was that person for a while.
Yeah. I hear that. Oh, I get this all the time since we're on the topic. Well, what's the difference between, I'll hear people say, I'll hear like layman people say, I basically do what a therapist does. People love to talk to me.
No.
I'm like, no, dude, you don't know the research.
No,
the research. So what separates a therapist from a layman person who's not a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist? To me, it's research. Right. So what separates what separates a high school chemistry teacher from a collegiate chemistry teacher? Probably how much research they know, right? How much information they know about a topic. They're not just using life. So the layman person will typically use life experience, right? They'll use wisdom. So there's intellect, there's knowledge, and there's wisdom. And these are 3 different facets. Intellect, there's actually 9 different types of IQ. That's a totally different conversation. Intellect is generally your ability to pick something up and then conceptualize it and then implement it to accomplish some type of task. Knowledge is like book smarts. It's how much shit can you remember, right? It's how many things can you study and make flashcards for and remember. And then there's wisdom, and wisdom comes through experience. That's the key for something to be wisdom, is you have to actually go through it for it to be considered wisdom. So a layman person, when they're given advice, will typically use wisdom and maybe some knowledge to solve the problem.
Yeah. So
what separates a layman from a therapist is not that you can't both be intellectual, but it's really knowledge. And wisdom, but it's really knowledge because we know more about the research. So I can point to literature and say, hey, X, Y, or Z typically is the answer to your concern, or this technique or this type of homework assignment has been successful, X% of the time. But it's still not a one size fits all thing. And then with wisdom, if I've seen 3,000 clients with depression, who's going to know more about depression from a wisdom perspective? Me or the person who has like 5 friends come to them about being depressed? Right? So then you get the
Yeah,
knowledge
it's
through the
gonna
book smarts and
that's
the literature, and then you get the wisdom through literally, I freaking sit on my chair for hours on end during the week as part of my job and listen to people's problems. Like that's my job.
yeah.
So then there's the wisdom. So that's really the difference there. Not to diverge too far.
But yeah, that is the difference. It's having the knowledge of and the research versus having the experience, or you've known people with these situations before.
Yeah,
That is the major
you can't blame you
difference.
can't blame the average person for doing that though,
No, I
because they're
mean,
just
if
using
you
what
can
they
be there to
know.
support somebody, then you do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do it. Um, yeah. So there's a comment on my page saying there is too much support. When we talked the other day, I didn't listen to people who were trying to help me at the time, but it wasn't until I realized that I was in a hole that until any of it really settled in.
Can you say that
And
again?
there was all those moments of shutting them down. Yeah, all those moments of me shutting them down and them there when I asked was great. So yeah, it's just having that balance of somebody supporting you, but then you need to realize that you do need the support. You do need that.
Oh yeah,
And apparently, sleeping is very difficult for people as well.
I can
Falling
know.
asleep and staying asleep. I mean, that was a major issue for me a couple months ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was at the time where like I separated from my partner. I had like gone out of my job and everything kind of just went and flipped in my life. But yeah, I moved back home as well. There was just lots and lots of situations that happened all at once, and then I just had a lot of trouble trying to sleep. I'd sleep for maybe like an hour or two, and then I'd
Right.
wake up for an hour, and then I'd go back to sleep for an hour or two. Then yeah, it was just
So it was more like
kind of a rough
insomnia.
time with a lot of things going on. But I understand trying to get to sleep and staying asleep is kind of hard. I used to try and use things like lavender, which didn't
Yeah.
always work. It's
Lavender.
kind of like it's a hit or miss. People are always like, yeah, I swear by it. Then others are just like, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, it was just kind of like some
Right.
nights it worked, some nights didn't. Everyone's different. I mean, it just depends how you feel in the day, I suppose.
Everyone is different, and that's why you can't
There's
just
not
say,
one
hey, this is
solution to
yeah, this
anything.
is there's a shit on me.
It's a matter of trying. And if it doesn't work, then you try something else. Like, I used to keep a diary on all the emotions I'd feel and kind of what was I eating that day, how
Right.
much water did I drink, did I even like what did I consume that day, kind of like where did I go, did I speak to anyone, if I did, who did I speak to, did I go outside, did like kind of just like log what I was doing and then just kind of like flip through it a couple of weeks time and just see if there's any sort of improvement on my moods and stuff, and that kind of helped me see from an outside perspective like, oh, that's what I did on that day, oh my god, my diet was really poor. So kind of like self-evaluation, I guess, but
Yeah.
that was yeah,
We call
something
it
that
yeah, which is
helped
self
me turn
inventory.
myself
Yep.
around. Yeah,
hmm So how you doing now?
I'm doing a lot better now. There are days that I'm just like I feel like absolute rubbish, but
Rubbish.
I know that I have my very good days as well. So I'm just like, I know today is a rough day, but I
Right.
know that there have been so many other better days that I've had. So it's just like I know it's gonna get better. It can only get better.
Right.
And it's just if I do feel that low, then I can just go out and reach out to people who I know can listen
Has
and
gaming
will
helped
listen
or
to me.
hurt you during that process, during that transition?
Um, Depending on what I played and who I was playing with. If I played on my own, it kind of made me feel quite lonely. But then it depended on my mood in the day. Did I want to see people or not? Kind of determined on what I would play if I was to play a game. But I always did my best to try and like go outside for like walks and things like that. Really, there's like some nice little paths near me, so I kind of
Right.
just go out and clear my head every now and then.
So it sounds like gaming
And
wasn't
then
a good or a bad thing. It was just kind of it depended on the day.
it was just, yeah, it just kind of depend on the day. Some days I would want to play, some days I just wouldn't. It would just
Right.
depends on what I've already done so far that day. But I found that if I played a lot, like if because I had like a couple of days off of work, well, I had that time off of work a couple of months ago.
Right.
I played games almost every day, and it actually made me feel quite rubbish, like because I wasn't really going out and doing much. I wasn't
Right.
socializing with people, and that's when I was just kind of like, I need to go out and do stuff. So I try and find that balance with everything now.
Right. It just depends. It really just depends.
It does, yeah.
Gaming can
It's
be a
not. I
good
can't
or a
just say
very
there's one
bad thing.
solution. Yeah.
It just depends. Ratch says I used to write down my recollection of usually horrible days or events to get it out. Yeah, that's very cathartic. Writing it down. Let's see.
Oh, I'll see you later, Orisan. Have a nice night, and hopefully you can sleep well.
Oh yeah, it's late over there, huh? Hear
Oh,
Me
he's an
says I have
hour
a.
ahead.
What's up?
My friend's an hour ahead, so it's already 1 a.m.
Oh geez, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Hear Me says he did the same thing. He has a blog that he set to private.
That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah,
Like, if you have your way of getting it out and you feel better.
a way to release in a safe way. He says. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people use if they
Yeah.
have an Apple phone, they'll just use the. What are the
The
Apple
notes
people?
and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
notes, whatever it's called that they
Yeah.
freaking Apple people use. Man, I'm not about that life, but
Yeah.
I've seen a
I'm
lot of
kind of
clients
like,
do that.
if I do stuff like that, I have to like get it out and do it myself.
Right.
I can't sit there and type. Like, I hate my phone so much. It, like, if I get too many messages, it just stresses me out. And
Oh yeah, I had to
just-
turn my
just
emails
gotta
off.
Flip the screen.
Oh,
I just flip
that's-
the screen
oh.
up. I'm just like, leave that. I'm done with this. I need to. Yeah, so I'm more of like, if I'm gonna write something down, I'm just gonna like do it with pen and paper, and that's why I have lots of paper and notebooks and stuff all everywhere and anywhere.
Oh yeah, for me, it's working out. It's working. That saved me. That helped. It contributed to saving my life when I was younger. Was sports and exercise, and so good, bad, ugly, disappointed, depressed, whatever I was feeling, and to this day, that's still like my medicine. I've never used sleeping as my way to cope. I've always
No,
used
I think
more
sleeping's
energy.
probably the worst.
Yeah, sleeping's the worst.
I think sleeping your problems away just like kind of makes things worse. That's what it was for myself anyway. You don't really want to sleep it all
The
away. You
problem
kind of
with
wanna-
sleeping, there's
Oh, yeah.
multiple problems, but I think the number one problem is, let's say you fall asleep at 3 or 4, you get home from school or whatever.
AM?
PM.
Oh, PM. Okay.
Well, yours was falling asleep, but there's also a large population of people who have a problem sleeping too much, and so that portion of the population, I think the biggest issue there is, let's say you fall asleep again in the middle of the day and you sleep for 2-3 hours. Well, now it's already 7 o'clock, and you're like, well, shit. Now what am I supposed to do with the rest of my day? And then the rest of your day is shot because now you're playing catch up. Or let's say you sleep in, like the person who sleeps too much. If you sleep in until 11 o'clock and you slept for 12 hours, I'll talk about that in a second.
You've overslept.
You've
quite a bit
overslept, and so
and
you've
you
set
need
this
sleep.
kind of tone for the day that you're behind. But more so than that is, has anybody ever experienced a time where you stayed up so long that you went through that barrier, that like tired barrier, and you got that second wind? What's happening to you is your mind thinks that you're in danger and that you're trying to like find a shelter or a place to go. There's a reason why you're like the animal side of your mind. Oh, hold on.
Hit or miss, I guess they never miss. Huh. You got a boyfriend. I bet he doesn't kiss
Can you hear that,
Yami.
Kirk?
Gone.
I
Find
can't hear
another
it, but
girl
I
and
can
he
see
won't
it.
miss ya. He gone.
I did put my,
SKRRT and hit the
TTS on
dad
too,
like Wiz
because
Khalifa.
I know he wants me to
You
do
play
it,
with
so.
them balls like it's FIFA. Read more.
Oh my
I
God.
love Friday. Mia Khalifa
Little
lyrics.
miss, I
Metro
guess they now
lyrics.
miss her. You gotta
Freaking
touch
Plumbus.
him, but he doesn't kiss you.
So the biggest issue is similar to
Plumbus
that.
should be
Your
allowed to
mind
have
thinks that
bits.
you're like dying or that you need help, that something is going wrong to the point where you have to be staying up, right? So it triggers that extra adrenaline and that second wind, because the animalistic side of your brain, which is the back part of your brain, doesn't know that you were just like playing video games or something, right? It can't interpret that.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
can.
front part of the brain that makes all the interpretations. It's very similar to if you oversleep. If you oversleep, your body thinks that there's a reason why, that you're in need of excessive rest. Maybe you've been injured. Maybe you're fatigued for some reason. Maybe you've been traveling for a long period of time. your brain, the hindbrain, which is the animalistic side of the brain, thinks that you need extra rest. So when you sleep 12 hours and still feel tired, that's why. It's the counter kind of thing to staying up too late and getting that second wind. So that's another problem I see a lot of people dealing with. HBIC Gaming with the follow. Thank you for joining the Motivation Militia.
Also, the main thing, you need to sleep soon if you're up for 4 hours to walk your dog.
Wait, what?
It's important. You need to sleep. Sorry, someone in my chat.
Oh,
You need
okay.
to sleep. If you're up in 4 hours, you need to sleep because 4 hours is not a lot of sleep.
Yeah, 4 hours is nothing. So 4 hours is the minimum to log your memories into long term. Hashtag neuroscience. So you got to sleep
need
at
at least
minimum
6.
of 4 hours of sleep. So you know how people, here's another thing about sleep since we're on it. You know, a lot of people say you should sleep 7 to 9 hours a day. I hear that a lot. Like doctors prescribe 7 to 9 hours a day. You should sleep either 7.5 hours or 9. The reason why is because a sleep cycle is typically an hour and a half in length. And if you wake up if you wake up during REM sleep, this is the time where you wake up and you're like kind of fumbling over shit and you're like trying to get out of bed and you're like bumping into walls and stuff. That's because you woke up during REM sleep. And so half of your brain is still off. It's in, I think it's theta. I think it's theta is the brainwave. Beta is like just kind of chilling, watching Netflix. Alpha is what we're in right now in conversation. But part of your brain, I think it's theta. No, it's delta. It's delta. Delta or sleep wave. It's still in delta, and so that's why you feel kind of like, oh shit, you're like bumping and stuff, trying to get your food. You're like shoveling milk into your mouth and it's falling out of your lips. You need to wake up.
I've actually done that once.
Have you really? I think everyone's done that going to school, at least in junior high or high school. But you want to wake up at 7.5 or 9 hours because it allows you to have at least 3 or 4 sleep cycles. And sleep cycles are important because the growth hormone is released at the beginning of each sleep cycle. And so that repairs muscle damage. And you also have memory login. We need at least 4 hours for short-term memories to be logged into long-term memory, right? But you want to wake up at a part that's not REM sleep. So at 7.5 and 9 hours, you're waking up at optimal part of the sleep cycle. So you wake up quote-unquote refreshed or on the right side of the bed. And Ratch says it's delta. Yep. I changed it, Ratch. She knows her stuff. But yeah, sleep is incredibly important. And gamers, again, since we're primarily here to talk about gamers, what do gamers typically do? When do they typically play? At night. I mean, you Kirk, you've multiple times you've come on here, and if I'm playing and I'm playing late, you'll get on and you'll stay up to like 4 or 5 your time while I'm playing, which makes it difficult. That's difficult for you.
Yeah, it is pretty difficult. Yeah, I only tend to do it if I know I've got a day off of work.
Right.
And I haven't got much planned for the day. I can kind of just have an easy day.
Yep.
But I try and sleep for about 6-7 hours anyway.
That's good.
Kind of my goal. I usually, if I am watching a stream and I go to sleep about 4 or 5 in the morning, I try and wake up about 11 or 12.
That's good. And you don't feel like you're behind?
Yeah, I do feel like I'm behind a little bit.
Yeah,
but
that sucks.
It depends on what I'm doing in the day. I mean, if I know I've got something to do the next day, then I'll be wise and go to bed earlier. But if I'm planning to just go around and do some chores around the house and then go for a cycle as I'm out, then I would do that. But it just depends if I've got anything planned. If not, then I don't mind staying up. Every now and then, it's alright. Every now and then, just don't do it often because it will drain your soul.
Yeah, and by the way, there's no such thing as catching up on sleep. That's complete garbage, by the way. That's not empirically based at all. So anyway, I think that was good. We hit a good we hit a good 45 minutes or so there on that discussion. Plumbus
said a big thanks to me because he said that his anxiety gets bad sometimes, but I help him out a lot, which I do my best to. He had a situation the other day, and I just said, let's go and grab some lunch.
Right.
So kind of helped him out a little bit there and made him feel better. And he said he had a good day from that point. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Plumbus is a good guy.
Putting those things around.
Good job, Kurt. Way to change lives. That's awesome.
Yeah. One life at a time. Right?
That's right. One life at a time. I think we're going to switch over. Do you want to switch over for Left 4 Dead? I think this was good. This was a good 45 minutes. I hope we can do this weekly, but definitely bi-weekly at least. And I'm hoping that we can make this a little more formal, with videos and stuff for YouTube and stuff. And if anybody in chat ever has any topics, I want it to be related to either physical health, mental health, or gaming, or combine them. That's kind of the things I like to talk about.
Yeah.
Primarily though gaming, because obviously we're on Twitch right now. So, but
Whether
if
it's
there's like,
personal experiences or things you're curious about,
it could be
just,
serious
yeah,
or it could
fire
just be
away.
fun. We could do a top 10. You could see like, you know, if some of our followers are just like, hey, do a top 10 of, you know, the best Xbox games ever or something. I don't care. Then yeah, we can do that too. We can do something like that. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
serious
we'll
all the
throw
time.
it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this will be kind of a nice little mix up for people, and it's good YouTube content. Get my plug in
Yeah,
there.
100%. Yeah.
Alrighty,
And it
I'm
gets the
gonna.
word out as well,
Yes.
because it's sort of a subject that people are a little bit hesitant
Speaking
to talk about
of,
at times.
I
So.
am going to sneak my website link into my chat. That's my business. Feel free to click it. No, I'm
Yeah.
going to. I'm gonna put this on. Be right back. I'm gonna get some drink, protein shake, and then I'll be right back. You want to play Left 4 Dead?
Cool. We
Cool.
do that.
All right, chat. I will be right back.